If you've ever wondered whether or not you should hire a book coach, then this is the episode you want to watch. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian fiction.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
Did I miss something the way, like, was I supposed to do something? Like, 'cause you waved and then you both laughed like I missed out on some sort of joke.
Tina was saying something before. What were you saying, Tina?
I was watching a TED Talk from this lady on how to have charisma if you don't naturally have charisma. It's like if you're doing speaking to people like we are. And she said that one of the ways to show that you're trustworthy is to show them your palm when you start
oh, okay.
So then James, so I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if there's if I feel more trustworthy.
And I heard you say all that, and it just still didn't click with me. I'm like, did I miss something?
Yeah. You were functionally listening.
Yeah, we have this morning. Jason is with us. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Jason's one of our OGs. Sarah is with us as well. Good morning, Sarah. Christy is
Sarah looks like she's up to something in that profile picture.
Good morning. Christy's with us as well. And our good friend Catherine is here. And Lene says, good morning. So happy I'm able to catch it live. Well, we're happy you're here too, Lene.
We'd love to have people live.
Catherine wants to know, was it Vanessa Van Edwards?
It might have been. That sounds really familiar. It might have been her.
Well,
blonde lady. Or like Bouncy Brown, long hair.
Bouncy Brown?
Mousy Brown.
Oh, Mousy. I thought you said bouncy.
Maybe both. We don't know. Well, we like to start every episode, besides, all of this nonsense, with our What's Up. This is where we come together and we share what has been happening in our daily lives. And since we met last, before we forget, Chrissy says Sadie is here too. Hi, Sadie.
Hi, Sadie.
We're so glad to have you with us.
Love that name.
Okay, so Jamie, what's up with you? Let's start with you.
Okay. I was, for the longest time, trying to figure out how I could learn pickleball. Now, I've watched some videos so that I would kind of understand the rules. And I thought I was going to take...
I'm not laughing at you. It's just the way you're like, I was really trying to, and then it's pickleball, which is not what I was expecting. So, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, it's not like, a master's degree or something like that. So I was going to take this $50 clinic in Orlando, but then social media threw in my face an article from a local paper that in Ocala, which is a short drive from my house, on Wednesdays, there are free pickleball lessons at the rec center. And so I drove my little fanny out there on Wednesday, and I will tell you what, I played for 2 hours. And although it did feel like a long time, I swore I was going to get in my car and it was going to be 10 o'clock. I had enough energy and enjoyed myself enough to really keep trying for 2 whole hours. In other words, I really, really liked it. And yeah, I know it was very much just let's see how many times we can volley the ball. There was no real training about rules or, things like that. But it was a beginner of all beginners sort of a class. So you kind of get what you pay for. And just enough exposure to know that I would like to continue and have myself a new little hobby. I really, really like it.
I am so happy for you. That is awesome.
Me too. It's so fun. Have you ever played?
Never. I should. Now I want to, though, because we're very similar in our I don't want to try that, or that sounds good. You know what I mean? So if you really, really like it, I probably would like it. Right?
Here's the deal.
I would like to watch you guys playing it.
Which is funny because I don't really know exactly what you mean, but I know what you mean.
My family always played volleyball if we had a family reunion or a picnic or a gathering where the weather would allow it. And the way that we played volleyball was just like, whatever, we might maybe keep score, but this way, like if the littlest of littles wanted to be out there and pretend they were playing, it was always allowed and accommodated, and we made much of them, right? And so that was how this pickleball lesson was. And from what I understand about the community, if you drop in for open play, that's kind of how they treat you, because beginners are out there, experts are out there. And so I'm really looking forward to find places where I could go to open play with people who will teach me the rules just in kind of a casual environment. But just what a great way to get out and feel alive, because you're using your body. So anyway, I got that really super fun feeling. We also had a ping pong table in my grandfather's basement. I always got my butt kicked, but hand-eye coordination with a paddle was nothing new in the pickleball realm. And I would have liked to have been a tennis player, but that's a big court and that's a lot of running. And in pickleball, unless you let the ball get behind you and you have to go run, chase it to the fence, it's just short bursts running, which is way better than, so it's like the best of all possible combinations. We played badminton in high school, but not enough times for me to like appreciate that either. So it's like these three sports that independently have things you don't like about them. Like they solved all of the problems.
Yeah.
Pickleball. It's great.
So in high school gym, of course, I didn't want to run. Like, nope. in case anybody listening doesn't know this about me, I don't want to run. And so I learned that, first of all, my partner and I, we kicked everyone's butt in badminton. I don't know why I was so good at that, but we were great at it. Like all the jocks in class, we were killing them. But I learned really fast that in floor hockey, that if you got really good at being a goalie, they would keep you there because they wanted a good goalie. And guess what goalies don't have to do? They don't have to run. And so I made it my goal to be the best goalie in floor hockey, which I was. And guess who got to stay as the goalie? Me. So then in college, friends of mine are like, hey, let's go play broom ball. So those of you that go to school where it's cold, there's probably, if you went to college or you're going to go to college, there's probably, if you go to someplace that's cold, they're probably going to have a broom ball team. And it's usually like pickup, or it's like it was for us, it was intramural. So you just sign up as a team. And what it is we got to play on the actual ice that Boston University, the Terriers played on. But you wear tennis shoes. And where my son went to college, they actually took brooms and cut them down, but we had actual sticks with triangles on them that were like official, whatever. But again, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like fun. We get out there and I'm like, this is a lot of running, and it's running on ice. I'm like, I'm like, hey, can I try to be goalie? And they're like, because like they're all athletic, but me, I'm like the fun one. Like I'm the one they invite because poor Jen doesn't have anything else to do. So I like, let me try being goalie. Guess who had to stay in goalie? This girl, because I would I don't care if I get bruised or if I have to throw myself on the ice. I just didn't want to run. And so that's awesome. I actually might.
You might be really good at pickleball then if you're good at badminton, because people always say it's a cross between badminton, ping pong, and tennis.
The only sport I liked better than floor hockey was actual hockey. Because you were skating, and skating is easier than running. And we used to, like in Alaska, there was a hockey rink on every elementary school playground in the city. That's Anchorage.
Awesome.
So we would eat our lunch. We would inhale our lunch with our skates on and our snowsuits, and because you had to be one of the first people out to the rink to get on a team. So we were like, because they wouldn't let you go outside till you had eaten your lunch. So it's like, inhale your lunch, then like run to the hockey rink with your little skate guards on. Get on the ice. I loved hockey.
That's fun.
But I was pretty good at floor hockey too.
Our neighborhood, our yard, my parents' yard had really poor drainage. So we were the ones that had the hockey, the ice rink only because like it didn't drain well. And so that's how I learned to skate was because like that. But yeah, that's exciting. Well,
Our
I'll
elementary schools had skating rinks and hockey rinks. So if you didn't make it on the hockey team, you had to skate on the figure skating rink with the girls.
My professor for public relations in college, he's passed away now, but he was very famous journalist actually. But he used to, his name was Jack Thalla, and in the wintertime he built a rink in his backyard so that all the neighborhood kids would come and play with his kid, so his kids had a place to be or whatever. And he wrote an autobiography and talked about that. But ever since I was in his class, I'm like, I'm gonna do that. When I have kids, I'm gonna do that. No, I never have. But wouldn't that be so cool? It's a lot of work to get it set up, but that'd be so cool to have.
I wonder about the liability too.
Yeah, I guess it would have been a different day and age when his kids were.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
I like what Catherine Carroll, she said, I love air hockey. No ring
Oh yeah, I love air hockey. We had an air hockey table in my basement as a kid. I will smoke you in air hockey.
That's awesome. Purpose Behind the Pen says that her What's Up is book 18 is about to be in the final countdown, made for final draft. That's awesome.
It's the final countdown.
Oh
all right, I'll go next. I've already talked a whole lot, like giving you guys memories. My What's Up is that I thought we were going to be celebrating the Super Bowl this weekend with my Lions playing, and that didn't happen. So I've been in major depression mode. Just kidding. I mean, I have been sad about it, but my daughter and her boyfriend
as a Lions fan.
Yeah, it's like when it happened, we're just like back to normal.
Yeah.
But my daughter and her boyfriend were supposed to still come home for the weekend, and so I've invited his family over, his parents and his brother, and we were just going to do like a thing here at our house. And then a storm came through, and they decided not to come home, and I'm just like, I miss my baby so much. But his family's still coming over, so we're gonna have a little itty bitty Super Bowl party here because my favorite part of the Super Bowl is the food, and so ribs, and I'm making shredded chicken tacos with all the fixings, and that's all I think about right now is get my house clean, and I can't wait for the food. So
see, you're the ice skating rink family without the ice skating rink, so do not worry about that oversight of the actual rink. You're still the family that has everybody come over, so be happy.
Yeah, I had my girls for New Year's Eve had a party, and I let them invite their friends, and that's what I was doing with my older kids too. And they, one of their friends when they were leaving, they're like, "This was really great. You're kind of like that mom that's like everyone's second mom." And I was like, "What a compliment! Seriously, like I want everyone to think of me that way because I want kids hanging out here. Because then guess what? I know where my kids are, and I know that my kids are safe. So yeah. All right, Tina, what's up with you?
Well. My book coach just moved back from South Africa to the United States and promptly got the flu.
Oh no.
Like the really bad flu where she felt like she was dying. So I didn't meet with her last Friday. So I had like a week that I was just like, I really don't know what to do from right now. So I just kind of took a me week, and now I meet with her this afternoon, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be more thinking and hard work. And I'm with Catherine. She says she wants both teams to lose, so she's skipping the game.
I agree. And I thought about that, but I want the food. Like, I don't ever cook like this, like where you have all the food, right? So, except for this. So, I hear her. Yeah. All right. And Angelique says, good morning. So happy to finally make one of these live. We're so glad to have you here, Angelique. So
Angelique, you have really good typing skills with those little paws that you have.
And you're so cute and adorable.
You're so cute. Look at your little ears.
For those of you listening to this as a podcast, Angelique's profile pic is her dog, which is an adorable dog. Yes.
Yes.
We love dogs here. Oh, Catherine says she didn't say she was skipping the snack. Girl, same.
Awesome. So awesome.
Same. Purpose Behind the Pen says she's skipping the game too. She has a book to finish and publish before Valentine's Day.
I'm sure
Yeah,
my
I should.
husband will be watching it.
I heard a news commentator refer to it as the superb owl, and I can't stop thinking about it.
That's awesome.
Great.
Mhm.
Oh,
I
that's
used to
your
really
version.
love watching it just for the commercials, but the commercials have gotten kind of
Icky.
trashy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're gonna play games. I'm super excited about that. I love euchre. If you're not from the north, you may not know what
Mhm.
that is, but it's like the best card game ever.
It is so
Um,
awesome.
and board games and things that we just don't do a whole lot. So they're coming actually early. We're gonna start the food early. We're gonna play some board games. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to that, which makes me miss my daughter even more because she is the board game queen. Like she just
We used to really love playing Settlers of Catan.
Catan.
Well, we called it Catan.
I don't blame
Mhm.
you. I've played that game before. I played it with my son and all his friends, and maybe it was just because they were really good at it and I was just learning, but it was not my vibe. I like games like Secret Hitler, if you guys have ever played that game, and Snakes. There's a game called Snakes. It's kind of like that.
Chameleon. Have you played Chameleon?
Yes, we own
Yes.
that game. That's a fun game. I like
My
games like
daughter
that.
always won Settlers of Catan. We, like everybody else playing, would gang up on her, and she was
That's the best.
a little brat.
It sort of has Monopoly vibes, right?
does.
Like if you're the one who ends up with a terrible piece of land, or like you just might as well be like,
And it takes
well, who
hours.
can yeah, you can form an
Mhm.
alliance or something to keep it interesting. Otherwise, you just slowly lose. It's sad.
You know what else I hope we play this weekend is I hope we play a massive round of Uno. Like there's just nothing
Uno.
like
Very
Uno when
basic.
yeah, but when you
Simple.
have a bunch of people, right? There's nothing like a big old round of Uno that just
I know we're totally
Ultimate
long.
challenge,
Yeah.
and do it by candlelight.
We're
Oh.
totally long on this, I know, but my work had a game meeting and they had like chessboards out, they had Scrabble out, they
Oh,
had a poker going on in another room, and then they had an Uno room. The Uno room was lit. People were like,
Yeah.
"Ah!" And they were like
Yeah.
yelling about the wild cards and the draw force, and like that was a party in the Uno room.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If you play it by candlelight, it's really, really hard to tell the difference between green and blue and
Oh,
orange and yellow, or orange and red,
that's
or
funny.
whatever yeah. You're like, what color is this?
We played Scrabble recently too, Jamie, and our family, and discovered that my husband does not want to play Scrabble with me and the girls because yes, he's not a
Lexicon,
reader.
yes,
Like my
yes.
husband's very
Forget
smart.
it.
He's very
Mhm.
mathematically smart. Like he just
Can
like
build anything.
build
Mhm.
anything. Like you ask, like he can do math in his head, especially like construction math, like that. And we're like, what? But he's not a reader. And the words we were like, they were just normal words to us. And he's like, what is happening right now?
My
It was
husband
the
has an
best.
engineering degree, so he's very similar.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, we have to move on. People did not show up just to hear us chat about our lives. So I do think it's part of our charm.
I say they did.
Maybe.
No,
But
go
I
ahead.
do think that people are going to be tuning in when they see the title of this, because I think this is something that people are curious about. It's something that maybe they have thought about but been scared because there is an investment involved. And so we wanted to hit this topic because for those of you that have not been following along or have not heard the What's Ups lately, Tina has hired a book coach and has been working with a book coach for how long now, Tina?
I hired her the second half of November of
Okay.
2024.
And so, first of all, like, can you like quickly or like shortly tell us what is a book coach for someone who's never heard this term before? What is it actually to have a book coach? What is it?
Well, she is basically coaching me through the revision of my book, which is what I needed. They will also coach you through the planning and writing of a rough draft.
Mhm.
Basically, they'll coach you through whatever process it is that you're struggling with. Like she had a list of different things that she could do for me, but what I needed help was the revision and rewriting of book 3 of my series.
Right. So I had always thought that a book coach was basically the same thing as a developmental editor, which from what I'm gathering from you, they can be that, but then they can be other things as well. Would you agree with that? Or is it different? Is it completely different?
I've never had a developmental editor except for Jamie. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure what other people besides Jamie do,
Mhm.
like what their process is. Basically, all she ever does is ask me questions. It's kind of like going to therapy.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think that like I've used Jamie for editing, but like developmental editors, like for like when you're developing the story, is what I always
Right.
gathered. So, all right,
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
let's start from the beginning. How did you find your book coach?
Well, I had Jenny Nash had been on my radar for a long time. I'd taken one of her courses through SPF 101 on how to
Mhm.
revise your book. It was a short, like little thing, and my brain just couldn't grasp onto the process.
Mhm.
It's kind of like when I was trying to learn to drive a stick shift when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and I didn't get it until my dad showed me a transmission that had been taken apart, and I could see the gears and the teeth and how they came together when you pushed on the clutch. And once I
Mhm.
saw that, I got it. So I felt
Mhm.
like that about the process. Um, and so Jenny Nash has a company called Author Accelerator. I'm sure you can get book coaches other places, but that's where I went just because of my familiarity with her. And
Mhm.
the fact that Jenny Nash was Lisa Cron's book coach when she wrote Story Genius.
Oh.
And that her process for doing like the inside outline is very, very similar to Lisa Cron's Story Genius method. So they really very compatible with each other. And
Mhm.
when I do my Scrivener, I use the Story Genius template. So
Okay.
I felt like that what they do was going to match up with what I had already had because I'd been following their process.
Okay.
So I went on the Author Accelerator website, and it's kind of like a dating service. There was all these profiles for many, many hundreds of different book coaches, and I just started looking through them until I found somebody that I felt um, matched what I wanted.
Mhm.
And I reached out to her, and we had like a meeting over Zoom, and it was kind of like an interview. Do we feel like we can work together, kind of thing? And at the end of that, I felt like she was perfect for what I wanted, and she told me what her offerings were, what the price points were for each of the things that she had to offer, and we made a contract.
Okay. Can you be more specific too about the things that you saw in her profile that knew that it was gonna be a match?
She
Like,
said that she would not do erotica,
mhm.
gory violence, and there was one other thing that gave
The
me
occult, right? Wasn't
the
it the
occult,
occult?
yes, dark occult stuff. And so I had this feeling inside that she must be a Christian,
Mhm.
or there was a good possibility
And
that
when
she
you
was a
write
Christian.
Christian fiction, that's important.
Yes,
Like, you don't have to have a Christian in every aspect of your life. Like, our mechanic, we're very close to him and his wife. They're not saved. I feel like they're part of my mission field, but like I don't. But when I'm writing Christian fiction, anyone that's going to touch that, right, that ministry of mine, you need that's important. I believe
right.
so.
And my book isn't just Christian fiction. It is like I have my main theme of all my books are biblical.
Right.
And I really wanted and felt that I needed somebody that would understand the nuances of grace and faith and um, forgiveness, because those are the themes in biblical themes in my books.
Okay.
And they're kind of deep. They're so much a part of the stories that I didn't feel like somebody who wasn't familiar with
Mhm.
that um, would understand it.
Right. Agreed. All right, so you found her through the website,
Hmm.
Author Accelerator, and I just did a quick Google search. There's lots of other ones out there, but you knew that you felt trust like you could trust Author Accelerator. We are
Yeah,
not sponsored by them,
right,
but this is how we're just sharing Tina's her journey.
right,
And then you said you had the interview, and
right.
then you
And
guys
it
just
turns out she was a missionary in South Africa.
yeah, that's
And then
awesome.
she was telling me a story about a demon possessed guy that lived around the corner from her and her experience with him.
Wow.
And there's a demon possessed guy in my book. And I was like, okay, this girl's perfect.
Yeah,
So
this is a match, right?
yeah, it was definitely a match.
All right, and then you said you decided on a contract. Let's talk about that. We don't need so the price range is going to be all over the place. It's going to depend
Mhm.
on what you want from that. Like, we'll talk about that. Like, what, without, you don't have to give us like a quote, obviously, but what are
Right.
some of the variables that will make a difference
It
in that?
went everywhere from, do you want to meet every week?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to meet once? Was like
Mm-hmm.
on this end, what do you want to meet once and just have me give you a critique of your manuscript?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to meet every week? Or do you want to meet every other week? Or do you want to meet once a month? So, of course, the more often you meet, the higher the price.
Right.
And the less often you meet, the lower the price. So I kind of went in the middle and I did, I chose 3 months, twice a month for 3 months.
Okay.
That's what I chose.
And so Tina and I were just talking about this before we hit, start for the podcast, that it is an investment of money. And so this may not be for everybody. This might not be something that's even something that's doable. But we talked, excuse me, sorry. We talked about investing not only in your career, but also for me, like if I never make another penny as a writer, and I still invest money into this, I personally feel okay with investing money into writing, because I don't pay to have my nails done once a month. I don't pay to have my hair done. I'm not judging anyone who does, but I look at my life and I think that, like, it's okay for me to spend money on me. It's okay for me to do things that make me feel good or that enrich my life. Maybe it is a gym membership, which maybe I should do that too. Let's be honest. But all I'm saying is, like, so don't just turn off this podcast right now and say, oh, I'm not gonna spend any money. Like, I don't have the money. Maybe
Right.
you don't right now, but maybe it's something like Tina from a couple of years ago wouldn't have been able to do this. Would you
Right.
agree with that? Yeah.
Yes, because the money that I used was a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a gift of money and it was enough to
Mm-hmm.
pay for what I wanted. So I chose to do it. If I hadn't gotten that gift, I would not have been able to do it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, like, this is not to be contrary to what you said, but I can also say that if you follow our advice from years ago and have a business plan, you should have some money put aside for things like conferences, coaching, developmental edits, etc.
Yes.
And so you can budget for this if you have a writer's budget at the beginning of the year, right? So if you've already decided that, you're going to commit $100 a week, say, to your writing career, a segment of that can be for things like a book coach. So
Right.
there are ways to make it work. If you worry about the money, just make sure you've done a budget and stick to it.
Right. And Becca
Plus,
Syme's been talking about building your author business, and she talks about how the first part is research and development. And I'm definitely in the research and development stage of my author business, and this is an investment in the research and development of my business in my mind. That's how I think about it.
and it doesn't mean you can't also be scrappy in this as well. Like, I was just telling the ladies off camera too that my daughter's roommate, her dream is someday to be a book editor. That's what she would like to do in life. And so when I talked to my daughter last, I talked to her and I said, hey, you might want to tune into this episode. We're going to talk about book coaching. This may be something that you're interested in. Finding somebody like Katie who is interested in doing this but has no experience. You could, like, if you want to be scrappy, you could find someone like that and, like, give them the experience. Like, maybe like you would get like either like free or discounted, or like you would just say, hey, I will give you a review afterwards. I mean, there's ways of being scrappy with it, but if you have the money to invest, like Tina did, this is her
Right.
experience. Again,
And I
we're
would
talking
say
about her
Author
experience.
Accelerator is on the higher price, one of the higher price options out there.
Right. I do want to say too, so I don't forget about it because it's not in our outline. But when you go over there, you can also choose if you want to be a coach. Like, they have a training and they have a way of you. If this is something that you think, man, I'd be so good at this, you might want to head over there and see if you're a fit for that company too. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, you've decided on a price. You have a contract with her. Now let's talk about the process so far. Now, so for everyone who's tuning in, she's not done with the process. So this is just our first episode about this. We're going to check back in a month or two with Tina and see how it's going. But so far, what has the process been? So,
Well,
ahead,
I'll
Tina.
start with our first meeting. She
Mhm.
gave me a worksheet with questions on it.
Okay.
And the title of that worksheet was my why, my point, and how my character arcs fit into both of those things.
Mm.
So I had to answer the question, why am I writing this book?
Mhm.
And then when I answered that question, I had to go 5 layers deep.
Oh,
So,
wow.
why am I writing this book? Because of this. But why? Because of that. Because of this. But why? Because of that. Like, so it's like a little preschooler saying, but why? But why?
Mhm.
To each answer that you give to why you're writing this book. So like
Mhm.
five layers deep is what we did. And then you have to answer the question, why are you the best person to write this story? That was hard
Mm.
for me. That was really hard.
Why do you think
The
that was hard for you, Tina?
I think it because I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself.
Mm.
Like I didn't
Mm.
see my book coach said to me later in the process, once she got to know me and she, we talked through like my life experiences that were informing my character arcs. And she was like, there's so much of you in these characters. Nobody else on this planet could write this book.
Mhm. Agreed.
And I didn't feel that way when I started this process.
Hmm.
So that was a growth point for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Um, and then what is the point of your story? And so that's kind of the theme. Like, what is the
Mhm.
theme? So mine is trust God. Like, God is
Mhm.
trustworthy. You need to trust God. And usually they sound like a cliche or whatever, but that's what they are. And then the third question, how does your point and your why weave itself through your character's arcs?
Mm.
Because it has
So
to
that
weave.
was that your second worksheet was about characters? Was the first one
No, that was
about
all the first. That was all the
Oh,
first
okay.
worksheet.
Oh,
So
wow.
that I had to hand in to at our second meeting, like before our
And
second meeting, and then we talked about it.
so you had how long to fill out that worksheet?
2 weeks
2 weeks. Yeah,
because I chose to meet every 2 weeks. So
right. Did you have a
and
hard time getting that done, do you think? Because that's a
it was
lot of deep thinking.
I'm a deep thinker, and
Mhm.
so I probably thought about it deeper than most people might. And yeah, I looked at the questions, I thought about the questions, I thought about them, and I thought about them, and like 2
Mhm.
days before it was due, I started writing.
Oh, wow.
But I was thinking it wasn't like I wasn't working on it, but I
Right.
I was really processing. But that's kind of how my brain works.
Mhm.
So that
Okay.
was the first meeting.
All right. Then what did you so that was mostly about the story arc, your the whys of your story. So what was the second meeting about?
It was character arcs.
Mm.
And we focused on 4 characters in my book. So I had my protagonist,
Mhm.
and then 3 support characters. One is like the love interest of my protagonist,
Mhm.
and 2 of them are people that are new to the series and are not saved at all.
Mhm.
One is a worshiper of the false god Drakon
Mhm.
or Drakon. I don't know how it's pronounced. I just spelled it. And one is a girl whose baby is going to be sacrificed to Drakon
Mm.
by her husband.
Oh. Ooh, Tina, you just made me not want to read your story.
Well,
Yeah, no, no,
that
no, that's
that
fine.
is the whole conflict of the entire story.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So
Okay. All right. And so let's talk about the homework. So so those were the questions she'd give you. And you said the homework was it was all a bunch of targeted questions. So it wasn't just like here, fix this, fix that. It wasn't her like going through and editing. It was
no,
literally making you think about your writing, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I just have some bullet points of the questions that she asked me. So they're not the complete questions; they're just the main point of each question. So
Okay.
for my main character, I had to write about her starting point of her
Mm-hmm.
character arc, what her transformation was going to be, what her challenges and conflicts were going to be, how all of that connects to my theme of trust God, and where she was going to end up at the end of the story.
Oh wow.
So that was for the protagonist. For the secondary characters, what was their purpose in the story and what was their role? So you have like sidekicks and you have antagonists and you have love interests. So I had to identify that. What is their own each character's arc of transformation, and does their arc of transformation mirror, contrast, or intersect with my main characters? Then the relationships, what's their relationship to the protagonist, and what kind of conflict in the story is going to drive the development of their relationship with the main character? Their strengths and their flaws, and then their connection to the theme.
So this is good stuff that you could use in any story too, like moving forward. Yeah.
And I hand wrote 10 pages that I gave her.
Wow.
With that, all those questions.
So go ahead, Jen.
No, you go ahead.
So Author Accelerator, being as they have a Become a Coach with Us kind of a link, you said, right? I would imagine that if you found a connection with a coach from Author Accelerator, you could expect a similar-ish experience because they've gone through kind of like this training or whatever. But let's say you wanted a book coach to be more like Jillian Michaels on The Biggest Loser, like sit in the seat and write your book and don't come back until you've done 6 chapters. Like, I mean, is that an appropriate use of a book coach? Like, could you find a book coach like that? Are we all experienced enough to know?
One of the things that they told you in the profiles of each of the book coaches is whether they were a hard touch, a soft touch, or a medium touch. So you want somebody to scream at you like Jillian Michaels, I was assuming you would want the hard touch coach.
Okay, great. I'm glad I asked that.
I have an aversion to being told what to do, so I went with medium.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
And so once you filled out these questionnaires, what were your meetings like then after that, Tina? What did she do with that information?
Well, I sent him like the 10 pages that I wrote, I sent screenshots of my pages that I wrote because I was like, I really don't want to transcribe 10 pages. Right. And so she did a document where she commented on what I had done.
Oh, wow.
So then I would read her comments about what I had done and her suggestions or her responses. And then when we had our next meeting, then she would ask me deeper questions.
All right.
So just like we went 5 layers deep on the what is your why, we went very deep on these characters because I thought I was done when I had written those 10 pages. And she's like, no, that's just the high, the high
just
view.
The beginning
that's
of
like
it.
The top view looking down on your characters. That's just the surface.
Wow.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's how I was feeling. But I'm really glad she made me go deeper. If I was doing this by myself, I would have stopped there. I don't even think I would have gone that deep as I did with those first round of character art questions.
And do you already see how your story is better for it? Do you already see like a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Angelique says, ooh, Tina, that story sounds so good. I would definitely pick that up in an instant. Yeah, I think that I'm very excited to see how this moves forward for you and see like not only your feedback on it, but to see how your story is changed and made better because of this. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to be checking back in with Tina about this. We're just kind of starting to touch on it. If you you can always reach out to us, and especially Tina, in our Facebook group if you have more questions about this. But yeah, this is exciting. Do you have anything else you want to say real quick before we move on? Or
oh no, I have a lot of notes, but we can do that next time.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan. So thank you, Tina, for that. I'm excited to see how this progresses for you as well as like for us too. So, all right. So moving on, our favorite part of our episode is the feeding of the back. So this is where we always come in and we share what we've written. So before every episode, we take the same prompt and all of us write for 15 minutes to the same prompt. And then we share it live, unedited, and just share it live. So Jamie, I'm going to have you go first. Will you share with us what the prompt was and share with us what you wrote?
Certainly. All right. Let's see. Today was a quote. In quotation marks, I mean, so we had to use exactly this, which is facing his greatest fear, he stepped through the door. And so I decided to lead with it. And here is what I wrote. Facing his greatest fear, he stepped through the door. No lightning bolt struck him. The earth did not move under his feet.
Mhm.
A diminutive woman with a helmet of burnt umber curls and a severe looking navy suit dress approached him, flashing impossibly white veneers. Good morning, she chirped, extending both of her hands to clasp Gerald's offered one. I'm Diane. I volunteer as an usher here at Beacon. It's so nice to meet you. Gerald. The words were forced out from between anxiously clenched teeth and lips. Well, Gerald, your name won't be hard to remember. My mother's father bore the same moniker here. She turned while speaking to lift a small yellow drawstring bag from a nearby table, which she now pressed into Gerald's hands. This is a little welcome gift to you on behalf of Pastor Parson and all of us here at Beacon. We want you to feel welcomed. Thank you, Gerald, said Gerald, then licked his lips and added, I don't normally stutter. Don't you worry at all, Gerald. It's not always easy to make new friends, though we here at Beacon like to make the process as pain-free as possible. I'm not here to make friends. In a fascinating turn of events, Gerald discovered these words intended to fly from his mouth, but he managed to arrest them. A couple more things for you to know before I take you to find a seat. Good morning, Greg. Hello, Sue. My apologies. I get carried away when I see the Carpenters. They just found out they're expecting their first. You'll love them. They put on quite a spread for the holidays and invite everyone out to their mini farm. They've got the most adorable donkey. And, oh, I'm sorry, where are my manners? If I'm not careful, they'll fire me. Huh, Gerald? She laughed here in action so abrupt and exaggerated that Gerald momentarily wondered whether it was meant to be an imitation of the donkey she'd just mentioned. Anyway, all levity aside, I want you to have a copy of the bulletin. There you go. And in it, you will see the order of service. Now, Gerald, you'll see that during Corey Masterson's solo number, the church is going to take up an offering. I don't want you to pay any attention at all to that. You are our guest, and as such, you are not going to be expected to. Catherine, oh my goodness, you made it. Gerald turned to see the oldest woman he'd ever laid eyes on, wheelchair bound and being propelled through the doors, held open by a boy, and it was going to be like a girl, and they were going to like be dressed a certain way and like whatever. But then I ran out of time, so.
Jamie, it's so good. I laughed several times in it. I love that you did not tell us he was going to church. I love that you like showed us. Like again, this should be a master class in show don't tell. Everything you write is like that. So good. But I want to know what his real purpose is there. Like if his purpose isn't, so what's going on? And you better finish this because I need to know. So next week, whatever our prompt is, it better like just be the continuation of this thing.
This felt really real to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I even specifically saw the church part of the church that is very, very close to Jennifer's house.
Yes, it's the inspiration. Yes.
The doors, the little foyer. I even see a specific lady that I know standing there. It was
doors.
I thought you were talking about the one that's next door to where we had AHG, that one. Anyway, but probably, no. Yeah.
It's more close to where Jennifer lives. It's like a mile away or something. I don't know. Run, Gerald.
Catherine Carroll says, "Run, Gerald." That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, and we all know somebody like what was her name again? That was
Diane.
Diane, yes. So that's what. And then he saw the oldest person he'd ever seen. Oh gosh, Christy says that's so good, Jamie. Yeah,
thank
agreed.
You guys. I had fun writing that. It was.
Oh gosh, fun. I don't want to follow that. Mine's just a continuation of a scene that I've been writing in my sprints. This I don't recently. Whatever. Where's my sprint? Here it is. Okay.
Did you change her name back?
I did. But you know what? All right. So update. So I think I'm gonna change Colleen's name. So ooh. I feel, and I know what people say, like the rules are meant to be broken. It's my story, do whatever I want. And I absolutely agree with that. But I was never Colleen. It just kind of came out once because I was trying to think of an Irish name. And when I researched it, it's really not an Irish name. It's actually an English like an anglicized version of an Irish name. But in this time period, most women that would have been born in Ireland would have had anglicized names because, anyway, I have a whole list of Irish names that I'm like more excited about than Colleen. So I might be changing her name and keeping Charlotte because I just feel like Charlotte is just who she is. I always have felt that. So
what's Colleen's last name?
McGuire.
McGuire. Okay.
So
all right.
I know a lot of Irish ladies, so if you need any help.
All right. I mean, I have Post-its all over my desk, honestly. Like it's like just all over with Irish names on it right now.
None of the names that I know that of actual Irish women are very exciting. Mary. I have a lot of family named Mary. Like it's like
the other thing I need to consider too is, do I even want to make her Irish? Like that was just what came out of one sprint, like from the early on. And then like I'm really kind of writing myself in a corner to where I have to like, there's a lot she would have to have there's certain
history.
Yes. And then I made the history that like when she first spoke, it reminded him of his mom. So then his mom has to be Irish. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, do I want to write myself into that corner? Part of me thinks, yeah, let's do it. Then part of me is like, well, I don't know. So anyways, those are
something fun. I would just like to know the outcome of an exercise, which is if you have time for like more superfluous silliness. But if you did an exercise where you just wrote a scene where she was not in it and you were writing, and then she was referred to by other people, what name would just come out as you were typing? Right. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were in a real rhythm and typing away and Cade was discussing her with other people, if some name would just come flying out, I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I want to read these. I know. I want to read these two. All right, here we go. Charlotte had just finished lacing her boots when she heard it, the front door opening and closing. For a moment, her heart skipped a beat. Had Cade changed his mind? Had he come to fetch her and make her his? But that moment was only a fleeting thought. Cade was married to another woman, and even if he wasn't, he would never enter the house unannounced. He was too much of a gentleman. But if it wasn't Cade, who had just entered this tiny shack? I don't know what I wrote there. Sorry. She crept to the door and placed her ear against it. There was definitely someone moving around out there. She bit her knuckle. She had no gun, no way of protecting herself. She looked back at the sleeping angel in the bed, and the protective mother bear within her sprung into action. She quickly began rifling through the dresser, looking for something, anything with which to protect herself and Lucy. All she found were some discarded handkerchiefs and an old silver hairbrush. She grabbed the hairbrush. It may not be much, but whoever was out there was about to meet the intricate design of the silver up close. She crept back to the door and listened again. She heard what sounded like the rattling of pans, and then she smelt it. The unmistakable aroma of bacon began to waft through the door. Charlotte's stomach grumbled. It had been some time since she had tasted bacon. Who on earth would break into a stranger's home and start frying bacon? Then it hit her. Maybe it wasn't some stranger breaking into another person's home. Maybe that Colleen woman had come back to make Charlotte breakfast. It seemed like the kind of thing that woman would do, Charlotte thought, and for some reason that angered Charlotte. Charlotte threw open the door and marched down the little hallway until she found herself face to face with the anonymous chef. But it wasn't the new Mrs. McNeil that she found herself staring down. It was a tall, rather mean-looking ranch hand. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, no. Why?
Catherine Carroll's cracking me up. You know you're safe if bacon is involved. That's great. A tall and rather mean-looking ranch hand. Dun, dun, dun. Is this the like meeting of the beau? Is this the guy? We must know. We must know.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they met before this, but I don't know. It is supposed to be the guy. It is the guy.
And is he cooking for her? Does he even know she's there? Is this something he would just do?
I know. So many questions.
Right?
Like, do you want the answers or no?
Well, I'm assuming they're going to be revealed eventually.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. You could keep us at the edge of our seat.
Well, so this is like super early on. This would actually be information that'd be on the back of the book, kind of information. He thinks he's getting because he and Cade had this agreement that someday that he would break off and he would have his own ranch. And when Cade married Colleen, he was under the assumption he was getting the ranch that Colleen was abandoning, and Cade basically moved this woman in there because she just showed up on his porch. And it's his like brother's wife. Like, she married his brother, but his brother died, so like he feels like an obligation. So that's going to be the conflict between them, is that, you know, and you're
a squatter.
Basically, yeah.
So. Wonderful. And she's prissy to boot, and thinks she's too good for us, those like us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of enemies to lovers, sort of little bit.
Christy says, love the details of the silver hairbrush. That's so good, Jennifer. This is Sadie, by the way. Oh, thank you, Sadie. Aww. I appreciate the feedback.
That's so cute.
Bruce Finally Pad says, great job, Jen. Thank you. Yes. I really appreciate that.
I love the idea of the impression of a hairbrush on some ne'er-do-well man's face.
Yeah, I think I can write it better, but I like that you guys had like the laugh. Like, you got where I was going with that. Like, it was like, yeah. And this whole thing was sped up. I think that like if I were to go back and write it, I would like marinate in there a little bit longer, but yeah. Yeah. So anywho,
great job.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, Tina, it's your turn.
Okay. I didn't use the exact sentence. But I
never got to the sentence. So
yeah, I kind of used the idea of it.
All right.
And this is from one of my scene cards that I was working on this past couple weeks. Petra stumbled up the steep slope toward the ridge. The ropes rubbing on his wrists made his skin burn, and his mind was spinning like a child's toy. He knew God was calling him to confront whatever evil being had taken up residence in Ivan's body, but how to do that was beyond Petra's sphere of knowledge. The only information he had was what he'd read in the Gospels when Jesus healed people of demons, sending them into pigs or back into the pit they came from. He tried to remember the exact words he used, but his mind screamed back at him, "You aren't Jesus. What authority do you think you have over a demon?" It occurred to him, perhaps it wasn't his mind, but some other source that was screaming at him. Perhaps it was the father of lies. "Help me, Jesus," he pled silently. At the top of the slope, they approached the shrine of Drakon. Stone pillars surrounded the clearing in a large circle, culminating in a large stone statue of a dragon. Its eyes glowed orange from the flames that roared inside its belly, and it reached scaled and clawed hands forward and facing the sky, waiting to receive the horrible gift it was said to require. Petra's knees felt like water, and his insides roiled. It was good he hadn't eaten today, or he was sure that meal would end up at his feet. He took a deep breath, surrendering his heart and mind to the leading of the Holy Spirit, reaching inside himself for the faith to believe Jesus promised that he would be given the right words to say at the right time. Ivan stopped his anxious pacing as they entered the circle, a preternatural light in his eyes and a manic grin on his face. "At last," he exclaimed, and the captain of the guard pushed Teslina forward, her son clutched tightly to her chest. "You can't have him," she said to Ivan, but her voice shook, and she visibly shrank as he approached her. "And how do you propose to keep him from me?" he said, placing his hand on the child's shock of red hair. "Please," she begged, but Ivan laughed. It was an otherworldly sound, and Petra's skin crawled and goose flesh rose up his neck. Petra stepped forward, expecting Ivan's captain to attempt to stop him, but the man only stood gaping at Petra with wide eyes. Was it fear, surprise, or something else? There was no time to ponder it. "Come out of him in Jesus' name," Petra said, and then the timer went off.
Oh, gosh. Tina.
Actually, the timer went off halfway through that sentence, and I finished it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. All right. So good. We lost Jamie. She had to go back to work, but okay. I don't even know where to start, Tina. It was very well written. I really love like I love how real it felt that Petra was like doubting himself, and that where he stopped and was like, but where are those thoughts coming from? Like, I love that. Like, not even like somebody facing like what he was facing, just the idea that like these doubts, like to stop and to think about that. So well done. I love that. I really wanted to see what happened though. So like I was which is a compliment. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat thinking that, I'm going to at least hear that part. And so You made me wanting more. So well done. I really, really love that part.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is a scene then that you possibly could use then, right? Is what you were saying?
This is like one of the final scenes in my book,
Okay.
right on my scene cards that I'm
Mhm.
playing around with. So
Very exciting. Very cool. All right. Purpose Behind the Pen says very intriguing, Tina. Love it.
thanks,
So
guys.
yeah, very cool. All right. Well, we are I guess we're not really running over. We started a little bit late. But Tina, let's start with you. What is your what's next?
So I meet today at 1 with my book coach.
Mhm.
She's all better from her flu. And so I get the next whatever. I don't know what's coming next. Like I
Mm,
have to hear from her. I was supposed to get it last Friday, but she got sick. So
mm,
we're going to talk about all these scene cards and the scene cards with the point, which is like what is the emotion that's driving the character to do what's
mhm.
happening in the scene. Like, so that's how it kind of works. So we have to go over all that and talk about what I have to do next. And I'm really excited to actually start some writing. So
Yeah. That is kind of cool. Like you're in your story, but you're not really writing, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so that would make you excited to get there. So
Yeah, and the Lord, in during my devotions one day last week, he gave me a download. Like
mhm.
I just started getting these ideas
Mhm.
and I started writing. I had like a whole page of ideas of how I could develop the spiritual part of my story. Things, little
Mhm.
things like things that people might say, like
Mhm.
like really small details, but I felt like they were coming right from the Holy Spirit. So I wrote
Mhm.
them all down. An hour and a half later, I had a whole page. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we move on, we just got this come through. So Sadie says, "Oh my goodness, Tina, that is amazing. Now I really, really, really want to hear the rest of the story." So, when do you
Thanks,
think you'll be
Sadie.
able to publish this one? What's your
Well,
goal?
I'm hoping by spring. I'm hoping
Awesome.
that I can get to the writing and get it done. Like all this work I'm doing,
Mhm.
I feel like the writing is just going to come easy once
Yeah,
after all of this work is done.
my planner heart loves this so much. That's awesome. All right, so my what's next is I'm going to work on doing some research and praying about if I'm going to like if she's going to be Irish or not. I know that sounds silly, but it really it's a small part of the story, but like it becomes a bigger part. Like we always talk about this, what's the purpose, right? Like
Mhm.
if something doesn't move your story forward, then it's probably not necessary. So is it necessary enough in my story for me to put the time and effort into researching it and making it authentic? Or is it just me the is it just my personality like wanting to do the research, right? So
Mhm.
am I clinging to something because I had a sprint once that brought this out or not? So this is what I'm going to spend this week on, doing that as well as working on. I know I keep forgetting to do this, but I keep wanting to work on um the AI stuff that Piper Dow had shared with us to try out. So there's some things I want to try out with that for the book that I'm getting ready to publish. And so I just need to have some time in my office, which is I know sounds
Mhm.
silly, but it's not my own office anymore. Like I share it. So
Right.
anywho, that's where I'm at. So
I don't know if
hello.
this is helpful at all, but when I read that a character is Irish, I automatically assume she's going to have a fiery personality and pluck. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
it's kind of a cliche, but
Yes.
that's what I automatically assume when I hear that a female character is Irish.
So here's my struggle. So yes, I see my character that way. However, she also endured abuse for a while. So here is the balance that I have to when writing this character is what kind of person is in a marriage like trapped. Obviously, it's a different day and age. So you have to be aware of that as I'm writing it. But how do they come out of an abusive marriage and be plucky and
Mhm.
not just be beaten down, right? So how would that, if she has a fiery personality, how would that show up in her marriage? I'm not saying she couldn't, like she still could have, but so again, I am like you. I see that too. It is cliche, but it kind of feels like this character, and maybe that's why I was making her Irish, was because of that whole cliche.
But then
But yeah,
again, devil's advocate, how powerful would it be to develop that in her without relying on her ethnicity to tell people that she's like that?
yeah, yeah.
So I'm not helpful at all. Sorry.
I mean, part of the thing is too is that she needs to not be able to run home to mommy and daddy.
Hmm.
So coming that far from home and not having the funds to go back can be part of that, right? So
Yeah, but you could also, in that day and age, people died of all kinds of stuff at early young ages. Smallpox. It was just, it would be really
right.
easy to kill them off like Disney does.
Right. I'll Disney them. So all right. So that's what I'm working on. So lots of ideation and like
Yeah.
that so next week. So okay. Well, if you hold on a second. Here's Catherine says maybe she's been slowly getting back to her true plucky nature in the time since her husband died. That's kind of how I'm writing it, honestly, is that it was beaten out of her kind of, and that she's coming back to who she always was. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It might be more work for me to like un-Irish her at this point. I
It might.
don't know. So all right. Well, we appreciate everyone for being here today. So happy to have a few of our listeners be able to be in our chat for the first time. We hope you all have a great week. So until next time, may your pen be prolific and your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.